I know Jeremy well, and all I can say is that I think his analysis is 100% correct and has been for years. But you understand, I thought there was a big bubble in '87, and the market indeed collapsed by 40% in 2 months. And I thought there's a big bubble in Japan, and in '89, and the market, my prediction at the time was that it would drop by 50%, and then it dropped by 80%. But the conclusion I took was wrong in the case of Japan, because I thought that when the Japanese market, which at that time was 50% of world's stock market capitalization, 50%, that when Japan would collapse, that it would drag down the other markets. And that was wrong. It didn't. As you know, in the 1990s, the US stock market did well, and the NASDAQ did fantastically well. And the emerging markets did well until '94, and Hong Kong until '97. And Latin America did very well until '94, up 20, 30 times from the late '80s. So what I want to say is the bubble scenario of Grantham is correct. We are in a gigantic bubble. I mean, you look at real estate prices in the US, you look at art prices, you look at cryptos, you look at anything, it's not inexpensive anymore. And I'm aware of the gold bulls that say the gold price should be at 20,000 and all this. But this is actually not necessarily my impression. I think it will go up, but it will go up gradually. And maybe in a crisis mode, it can shoot up by $100 a day or so, but it hasn't happened yet. But my feeling is that if you have the collapse Grantham is talking about, then you and I will also have a decline in our asset values. There's no question about this. Say you have $1 million US, then it will drop to maybe 700,000 and maybe to 500,000. But if everything else drops by 80%, and you and I, we dropped by 30%, then this is much better than if everybody else goes up by 100% and we only go up by 80%. You understand? This is a question of relative values. My view is about all this talk about collapse. Yes, it can happen. But it's interesting in this crisis of COVID that is essentially induced by the incompetence of the bureaucracy and their arrogance, notably, that during that period of time, real estate prices went up in many areas. And my view about this is that a lot of people, like myself, I say to myself, I'm at my age, I can't go and work as a waiter anymore. And it's unlikely that I can find a job as a pimp anymore. So I have to kind of be prudent in my investments. And I believe a prudent investment is to have a house with real estate. In other words, where you could be surviving on your property, at least food-wise, by planting your food. Or you live in an area, like the other day, I had a prince in my office. He's from the royal family, but not in line to be the king. But he's a nice guy. He rides, he also has BMWs. He rode with a friend from Thailand to Tibet, to Lhasa, on his motorcycle 15 years ago. So he's like a modern person. And he said, you know, in Chiang Mai, at least, we will never die of hunger, because this is an agricultural area in the north of Thailand. And I can see that living next to the river passes in front of our house. The ground is incredibly fertile because we irrigate it with water that we pump from the river. And the river water is not clean. It is like mud, is like muddy. And that is a natural fertilizer. So I think I could easily live. I would have to buy a cow, and someone would have to know how to milk the cow and get up in the morning, and hens and chicken and so forth. But this is a consideration. I think we live in an environment, and we've seen this with COVID. Never before in history has the government had the arrogance and the dictatorial power to ask you to close your business, to shut down your restaurant, shut down your shop, and to tell you, you are not allowed to even go smoking outside your house on your own ground. Never happened before.
I'm not allowed to go to grocery stores. I have the wrong paperwork.
Yes. But you understand, so I think we have to, if we believe, or if we just assume the scenario of Grantham, I can tell you, I'm just reading Pareto's work about elite cycles. It is very interesting that the elite cycles occur, and every society has always had elites. So to believe that in a democracy there is democracy is a fallacy to start with. There's in a democracy an elite, there is in an aristocracy an elite, there is in any system, in a plutocracy, there's an elite system. In China, the Communist Party is an elite party. But anyway, the point is, if the breakdown a la Grantham occurs, which I think it will happen one day, I don't know when, whether tomorrow or the day after. I would have thought it happened already 20 years ago, 40 years ago. But they managed to push it forward, kick the can forward, and maybe they can do it for a while longer. And to be short everything at the present time, and they print again money like there is no tomorrow. Who knows? You could lose your money before you're right. So this is the point I want to make. You have to consider, if you want really to implement Grantham's strategy and you believe that prices are going to go down by 80%, then you should be short everything. Maybe you should even commit suicide before someone will do it to you, kill you. So, but I can't live by that. So I'm diversified.